Ladies and gentlemen, let me begin with a provocative statement. The most important choice you can make in your life is not to merely survive, but to live with purpose, to grapple with the chaos of life, and to take responsibility for your existence, because that will determine how long you live and how well you live. The length and quality of a person's life are not solely dictated by genetics or the passage of time. Instead, they are deeply influenced by the actions taken on a daily basis. People often assume that aging is an inevitable process that unfolds in a predetermined way, as if they are passive participants in their own decline, but this is a dangerous misconception. The reality is that the decisions individuals make, what they eat, how they move, the thoughts they engage in, and the purpose they pursue, are all factors that actively shape the trajectory of their lives. Aging is not just a biological process, it is also a psychological and behavioral one. Those who live with discipline, who maintain their health with conscious effort, and who engage in meaningful activities tend to age more gracefully and live longer. Conversely, those who resign themselves to passivity, who allow their bodies and minds to weaken without resistance, often experience a premature decline. The human body is adaptive. It strengthens when challenged and deteriorates when neglected. The same applies to the mind. Without intellectual stimulation, curiosity, and engagement, cognitive decline accelerates. Beyond physical and mental maintenance, the spirit in which one approaches life plays an enormous role. Those who live reactively, simply responding to life's demands without a clear sense of purpose, often find themselves feeling lost and unfulfilled as they age. When people do not take control of their own destiny, when they fail to act with intention, they become vulnerable to a slow, passive decline. Taking responsibility for one's life means acknowledging that every action, no matter how small, contributes to long-term outcomes. Ultimately, aging well is not about avoiding the passage of time, but about how one chooses to navigate it. Those who recognize that their fate is shaped by their own actions will approach life with a sense of urgency and responsibility. They will strive to maintain their health, engage in the world, and pursue meaning, leading not only to a longer life, but to a richer, more fulfilling one. Passivity is one of the greatest threats to longevity, and it is often the silent force that leads people to an early decline. When individuals stop actively engaging with life, whether physically, mentally, or socially, they accelerate the aging process in ways that go far beyond biology. It is not simply that the body grows weaker with time, it is that neglecting movement, intellectual curiosity, and meaningful relationships speeds up the deterioration. Aging does not happen all at once. It creeps in when people begin to retreat from life's challenges. They stop exercising because they feel tired, not realizing that movement itself generates energy. They stop learning new things because they assume they are too old, ignoring the fact that mental stimulation helps prevent cognitive decline. They withdraw from social interactions, believing they are no longer needed, when in reality, human connection is one of the most vital components of longevity. When people allow themselves to slip into passivity, they set the stage for an early decline, not because their bodies are failing, but because they have stopped demanding more from themselves. The human body and mind require challenge to remain strong. Muscles atrophy when not used, and so does the brain. A person who avoids struggle in their later years, who seeks only comfort and routine, will begin to deteriorate faster than someone who continues to push forward. The elderly who live long, fulfilling lives are those who remain engaged with the world. They find ways to stay physically active, even if it means adapting their movements. They continue to learn, to explore, to create. They maintain relationships and avoid the trap of social isolation. They do not accept the idea that aging means fading away. Passivity is not rest. It is surrender. And once a person surrenders to inactivity, to mental stagnation, and to social withdrawal, their fate is almost sealed. Life demands engagement, and those who choose to remain actively involved in their own existence are the ones who defy the limitations of aging, living not only longer, but with far greater purpose and vitality. Health is not something that can be postponed until old age. It is a lifelong responsibility. Many people assume that the problems of aging, frailty, disease, cognitive decline, are simply the natural outcome of growing older. But in reality, these conditions are often the result of years, even decades of neglect. The human body is incredibly resilient, but it is also a system that requires maintenance. What a person does in their 30s, 40s, and 50s will dictate how they feel in their 70s and beyond. Those who take care of their bodies early on, who remain physically active, who eat properly, who prioritize sleep and recovery, are the ones who maintain their strength and vitality as they age. One of the most dangerous assumptions a person can make is believing that they will address their health later. Later often comes too late. Muscles weaken from disuse, and cardiovascular health deteriorates when the body is not regularly challenged. Chronic diseases like diabetes, heart disease, and osteoporosis do not simply appear overnight. They develop gradually as a result of lifestyle choices. Even brain health is significantly impacted by long-term habits. A sedentary, unhealthy lifestyle increases the risk of dementia, while regular exercise and mental stimulation help preserve cognitive function well into old age. Taking care of one's health is not just about avoiding disease, it is about maintaining the ability to live. It is about having the strength to move, the energy to engage with the world, and the independence to make choices. The people who struggle most in old age are often those who neglected these responsibilities earlier in life. But even for those who are older, it is never too late to start making changes. Small, consistent actions, walking more, eating real food, maintaining mobility, can dramatically improve both lifespan and quality of life. The reality is simple. Those who prioritize their health consistently, who see their well-being as an investment rather than an afterthought, are the ones who remain active, sharp, and engaged long past the age of 75. The body is a reflection of how it is treated, and its longevity depends on the actions taken every single day. A life without purpose is a life that begins to wither long before it ends. Many people assume that aging is primarily a physical process, but the truth is that psychological and emotional decline often set in first. When a person no longer feels they have a reason to wake up in the morning, their body and mind begin to follow suit. Those who live the longest and remain the most fulfilled into old age are the ones who continue to pursue meaning in their lives, no matter their circumstance. Purpose is not something that is given, it is something that must be created. Many elderly individuals who do not live past 75 experience a loss of purpose because they have not consciously maintained it. They may have retired from a lifelong career without finding new ways to contribute. They may have lost relationships that once gave them direction and failed to build new ones. They may have spent years reacting to life's demands without ever developing an internal sense of meaning. When this happens, the mind and body enter a state of stagnation, and decline accelerates. Conversely, those who continue to engage with the world, who pursue projects, set goals, and maintain a sense of curiosity, remain mentally and physically resilient. Purpose does not have to come from grand achievements. It can be found in relationships, in creativity, in personal growth, and in service to others. It can be found in the simple act of learning something new, helping a friend, or taking care of one's health. The key is to remain forward-looking, to always have something to strive toward. A person who stops seeking meaning has already started the process of fading away. But those who hold on to purpose, who see life as something to engage with rather than something to endure, are the ones who maintain their vitality. Purpose fuels resilience, and resilience fuels longevity. It is not enough to simply exist. One must actively participate in life, continuously finding reasons to keep going. Those who do are the ones who defy the limits of aging and continue to thrive. Human beings are inherently social creatures, and connection is one of the most vital elements of a long and fulfilling life. Yet many elderly individuals who do not live past 75 experience a gradual withdrawal from social life, leading to loneliness, isolation, and ultimately an accelerated decline. The effects of social disengagement are not just emotional, they have real physical consequences. Studies have shown that chronic loneliness increases the risk of heart disease, dementia, depression, and even premature death. Simply put, those who remain socially active tend to live longer, healthier lives. One of the biggest mistakes people make as they age is allowing their social circles to shrink. This often happens gradually. Children grow up and move away, friends pass on, and work relationships fade after retirement. Without conscious effort, a person can find themselves alone, disconnected from the world. And once this process begins, it can be difficult to reverse. Isolation creates a vicious cycle where lack of interaction leads to mental and physical decline, which in turn makes it harder to engage with others. However, those who maintain strong relationships and continue engaging with their communities experience a completely different reality. They have reasons to get up in the morning, conversations that stimulate their minds, and the emotional support that helps them navigate life's challenges. Social interaction keeps the brain active, reducing the risk of cognitive decline. It also provides emotional resilience, helping people deal with stress, loss, and the inevitable difficulties of aging. Staying connected requires effort. It means reaching out to friends, making new ones, staying involved in hobbies, joining groups, and contributing to the lives of others. It is not enough to wait for people to come to you. Maintaining social bonds is a responsibility. Those who make the effort to stay engaged with others are not just happier. They are healthier and more likely to live well beyond 75. The presence of meaningful relationships is not just a luxury, it is a necessity for a long and purposeful life. Those who recognize this truth early and act on it will find themselves not just living longer, but truly thriving. A long and fulfilling life is not the result of luck or passive existence, it is the product of responsibility. Many people approach aging as if it is something that simply happens to them rather than something they have control over. But the reality is that the actions a person takes or fails to take determine the course of their later years. Those who live past 75 with health, purpose, and vitality are almost always those who took ownership of their lives early on. They understood that responsibility is not a burden, it is the key to longevity. Responsibility means acknowledging that no one else is going to ensure your well-being. It means taking care of your body rather than waiting for illness to force a change. It means actively engaging in learning rather than assuming cognitive decline is inevitable. It means fostering relationships rather than allowing isolation to creep in unnoticed. It means making the difficult but necessary choices that contribute to long-term health, purpose, and happiness. The people who failed to live beyond 75 often did not make these choices, not because they were incapable, but because they did not take responsibility for them. Aging is a challenge, but it is not an excuse. Those who take responsibility for their actions, regardless of their circumstances, are the ones who thrive. They do not blame their genetics, their environment, or their past for their current state. They focus on what they can control. This mindset is what separates those who live well into old age from those who do not. It is not just about surviving longer. It is about living with intention and refusing to surrender to passivity. Ultimately, the fate of one's later years is not determined by fate at all. It is determined by the willingness to take responsibility for one's own health, mind, relationships, and purpose. The individuals who recognize this truth early and act on it are the ones who continue to grow, contribute, and engage with life well beyond the age of 75. They do not just exist, they live fully, because they chose to take control of their own destiny.